Thanks so much for clicking on this video. If you're looking for Dead Space Remake new gameplay, you can see there it premieres in 9 minutes. We're checking out the IGN video, the first 18 minutes of Dead Space gameplay. So if you want to skip ahead, do that. I have been critical of what we've seen up to now. I'm not like a hater or anything. That's not really my vibe. But we have been I at least have been a little bit disappointed with what we've seen up to now. I am going to end my previous stream. We already did a talk show about Diablo 4 and the leaks and the potential release date. I'm going to end that stream and bring everybody over, and we're going to take a look at this. I have heard that what we've seen up to now has been like alpha footage or pre-alpha footage, and that I'm judging something that's not complete yet. That's a little confusing to me. Like, in my experience of covering games, I don't know very many gaming companies that, premiere their gameplay and have it be rough. It's usually a vertical slice that's very polished, and I don't feel like we've seen that this time around, which I found to be a little bit interesting. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to quickly switch scenes and switch right back. I want to make sure I'm on my account that has YouTube Premium. I don't want to be, we don't want to get any ads or anything. So thank you to everybody who came over from the first stream. Make sure you go through that ritual. Don't be hanging out on Top Chat. Make sure you are on live chat. We really appreciate you guys supporting the channel and everything else. And spam the emotes, get things going. Let's see if we can't have some competition here. IGN's got about 1,100 people waiting, and we're going to be checking it out here. I've actually been waiting for new gameplay to come out. I have been, because I have felt like what they showed up to now, it looks way better than the original. I do need to say that. I am going to play it, and I think it does look way better. But I haven't seen evidence of a $70 next-gen only remake. I've seen weird animations and clunky things and low-resolution things that just seem weird in a $70 next-gen remake. And obviously there's going to be comparisons to Callisto, and my thoughts on Callisto are pretty simple. It's a beautiful game that isn't very good. It's a very, very pretty game. It's a very gorgeous game. I do think graphically Callisto looks stronger than what we've seen in the Dead Space remake, but the Dead Space remake could win with their sort of tried and true formula. Their gameplay could win. I felt that Callisto innovated on all the wrong things with the dodging and the combat and the camera. It just doesn't lead to a very good experience in the combat and the gameplay. It just doesn't feel good to play it. I know there are people who like it and have enjoyed it, and I'm not, and it is doing better on Steam since they pushed out that patch to fix the stuttering. And so that's exciting that at least the people that wanted to play it and enjoy it on PC can now do that. I believe it's getting a 75% from recent reviews. It was down to like the 30% review score because of how bad it was at launch. But they did react very quickly, so, props to them for that. What if they use Callisto's mechanics? I highly doubt they're going to do that. One of the things I noticed in the one Dead Space trailer that we looked at when he was flying is the animations just felt a little dated. They felt a little, clunky, as if they didn't rebuild it. So I'm interested to get more info on, did they rebuild any of the movement, the mechanics, anything engine level, or is this a really, really well done remaster? Cheers, Lono. Too much work and not enough lurk. Coincidence that this is dropping so close to Callisto dropping the ball. It's very possible, Suede, that they did this knowing that, like a week after there'd be comparisons made. So, strike while the iron is hot. Guys, do me a favor. If you are one of our faithful lurkers, there's a lot of people already here. Go through the rituals that we always go through with the second stream. $70 is a buzzkill. Yeah, chat, what do you think about this? When they charge $70 and it's a next-gen only remake, does that affect your expectations? Do you look at the video, do you look at the game, and do you have different expectations of it? Do you think, well, this thing better soar? Am I being unfair by being like, listen, this thing better be awesome if you're going to charge 70 and do next gen only? I kind of expect to see very, very high, very, very high level graphics and performance. What's the release date? I believe it's is it January? I think it's first quarter of next year. I forget the exact date now. The graphics of Callisto are the only thing about the game I'm willing to give it praise for. Probably more of a remaster, says Dustin. I'm not paying $70 for a remake, says Patrick. I don't care about the price. I just want great graphics. I had a lot of people give me grief, and they're like, graphics aren't all that matters. All you care about is graphics. And I was like, well, it's a $70 next-gen remake. That, to me, is literally what I'm buying it for. I'm buying it for graphics. Like, you're buying it to have great graphics. That's the whole point. That's the whole impetus of the purchase. You know what I mean? Are you expecting to see a big difference compared to the earlier gameplay that we saw? I don't know. I had so many people get on my Dead Space short, and they brigaded against it, and they mass reported it, and they were really angry because I said it looked bad, because I feel like it did look bad. And they were like, this is an early build. This is an alpha build. The game's not even close to being out yet. And I'm like, I've covered video games for almost a decade, and the first gameplay reveal is always a really polished vertical slice. Now, not always. Obviously, Starfield changed the rules there a little bit because their game was a little rough and had performance issues in its trailer. And then, the Dead Space Remake came out, and I was like, I'm seeing some oddities. I'm seeing low-resolution textures. I'm seeing clunky animations. It looks like a stunning remaster. And I don't want to get into that debate, but if you compare the Dead Space Remake to Dead Space gameplay of the original game, the difference is insane. And I think that's what everybody was doing. They were like, what is this guy talking about? It looks incredible compared to the first game, but I don't think that's the only thing we can look at, right? Like, I could give you a next-gen remake of, like, let's say one of the old Nintendo games, like an old Zelda game or something, but if it didn't look next-gen, you'd be right to be like, well, yeah, it looks great compared to the original, but it doesn't quite have the next-gen punch that, I was expecting to see. Being an alpha build doesn't stop it from looking like crap. Don't show it if it's not close to your product. Daddy Fatsack says, $70, you better be next to perfect, which is why $70 is a scam, because most AAA games are broken. Gameplay is king. Graphics don't mean anything if the game plays like crap. Yeah, but graphics are not off the table when it's a $70 next-gen only remake. Like, the minute that's the price point, the minute that's the product description, then I expect a whole lot more from it. $50 or $60 for a remake of a good game, you won't get much guff out of me. You charge the top of the market price, 70 plus. I expect top of the market quality remake like the Final Fantasy VII remake. Remaster, that's cap. I'm not attempting to deny the level of work that they did. People did that with The Last of Us remake. Look, it looks like a remaster, and that was totally bogus. So, yes, I will readily acknowledge the work that went into this is significant. They've remade a lot of things. But when I'm looking at a $70 next-gen remake, I expect it to be pristine. And I saw low-res textures. I saw clunky animations. I saw things that didn't look like a $70 next-gen title. Now, if this thing came out at $50 or $60, I would have been way less critical. I'd have been like, well, okay, $50 or $60 remake, right? $70 next-gen only remake immediately changes the expectation threshold in my mind. It just does. If you guys are enjoying the show, always remember, this is our second show, so make sure you are on live chat so you can see what everybody's saying. Let me get this nice and full screen for us. And get the play stuff off, and then do this, and then I'm not going to blare you, but I wanted to make sure audio is working. There we go. Yo, what's good, Pancake Pappy? If you guys are excited to check this out, don't leave once the video is over. We will do the thing that we do. We'll replay it, we'll slow it down, we'll come over it. It's 18 minutes of gameplay. So, We are excited to take a peek here. Isn't it crazy how $10 changes your perspective so much? Well, it's one of those things where you're charging the top shelf full price. So yes, it does. It could have something to do with the investment that had to be dumped into making it. I don't really know, man. I don't like trying to dream up excuses for stuff to not, to be at a certain price. I think the product should speak for itself. Like when I looked at, Ragnarok gameplay, when I looked at The Last of Us Part 1, it was like, I didn't like the $70 price point, but it was like, I feel like they put in enough work to warrant it. Now, I still thought that The Last of Us Remake should have been $60 until I played it. And then when I played it, I was like, yeah, this is top shelf next-gen gameplay. I think it just boils down to one word, greed. No, I don't think so. I think that's too reductionist and too, unidimensional. The video's at 60. Here we go.
Isaac, it's me. Oh, I wish I could talk to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about everything. I just wish I could talk to someone. It's all falling apart here. I can't believe what's happening. Strange. Such a little thing.
That's her? Nicole?
Yeah. First deferred from her in weeks.
We're 5 minutes out. You still got that thing on repeat? Guess you really miss her.
Fishermer is not a job you turn down, but 6 months apart with only vid calls? It's rough. Easy to say the wrong thing.
I don't blame you. I'd listen to my girlfriend over Hammond reciting security protocols.
Forewarned is forearmed, Miss Daniels.
So you keep saying.
Here we go. Nice clean re-entry. Welcome to Aegis 7.
Imagine 6 months staring at that chunk of rock.
To an independent miner, that's paradise. Aegis 7 is one of the richest finds in CEC history. Some prospecting team set up for life. Now where is she?
There. Confirming visual contact with USG Ishimura.
What a beauty. Biggest planet cracker in her class, And it looks like they already popped the cork.
Why is it so dark? We should be able to see her running lights.
Yeah. I'll get us into hailing range. Someone's got to be waiting up for us.
Just be careful on the approach. I'm not taking any chances with the CEC's pride and joy.
No chances, huh? Is that why you were digging into my personnel files before we left?
You check your file access?
I'm a computer analyst. Comes with the job.
I ran standard CEC background checks, Miss Daniels. If you want to work in the big leagues, you have to play ball.
Sir, we're in hailing range. USG Ishimura, this is the emergency maintenance team of the USG Kelly, responding to your distress call. Come in, Ishimura. Ishimura, do you copy? Come in. This is the USG Kelly.
You ever hear of a full communications black? I don't know what this thing
No.
is.
Come on. Someone pick up the damn phone.
What the hell is that?
Sounds like their communication array is busted. Maybe broken encoder. Daniels and I can handle it in 48 hours, max.
Hey, that gives you plenty of time to catch up with Nicole.
Yeah, I hope so.
The voice acting's good.
Take us in.
Gravity tether's engaged.
I do see like character design comparisons people are going to make to Callisto, but I don't think that's fair.
Guidance system override isn't responding.
Shit! Coming in too hot. It's gonna smash us into the hull. Aim for an emergency stabilizer. There! The blue light! It might slow us down. Drop the flash shield. Brace yourself.
okay?
I'm good.
I'll live. Hey, Johnston. You alright?
It's my ankle. Might be broken.
Shit. But better than a broken neck. Or worse. Good call on the stabilizer, Isaac.
Gotta always read the manual.
What the fuck's going on with flight control? That guidance system's a death trap.
Better add it to your repair list. Jen, what's our damage?
Comps are down. We lost a port booster. We got a fire in one of the stabilizers, and the singularity core's a mess. Could be worse, but not by much.
Then let's get some help. Johnston, stay with the Kellian. We'll send a medic. Everyone else, with me.
Yeah, the animations still look funky. I think it's because there's, I don't know. I think there's a lot of the old game underneath all of this. You know what I'm saying? It's not that it looks bad. It's just some of the character animations just look a little funny.
Stand clear. Crap, they came down hard.
Not a great start to our repair mission.
Pulse rifles?
Standard procedure, Miss Daniels. We'll register them in the flight lounge.
Hello?
Where is everybody? Half the ship must have heard that landing.
Be proud, Chen. You got us here in one piece.
Johnston might disagree. But if you're offering to buy the first round tonight.
I wouldn't mind something to steady my nerves, especially on CEC's tab.
You see anyone in flight control?
No, nobody.
The Ishimura was the first planet cracker class vessel, and is now the oldest service.
At least we didn't take out the sign.
Years of continuous service. It holds the record for the highest number of planet cracks, with 34 to date, and highest dead weight of refined product at 14
May as well get
trillion
signed in.
kilotons and counting. Whether you'll be joining us aboard the Ishimura.
There's some are you seeing that? Like there's stutters in his animation sometimes. Like his walking. It's weird.
To the USG Ishimura. Rig synced. Collect kinesis and stasis modules from Acting Chief Engineer Jacob Temple. Location? Error. Employee not found.
I can't reach security.
Same for the chief engineer. What is wrong with their comms?
Like graphically I feel like everything looks what you want in a remake, right? There's just something with the movement. Like he jittered right there. Did you see as he turned? I don't know. It's like the character animations aren't
Someone left in a hurry.
they're not done yet maybe? I don't know.
Where's the security detail? Where's anybody?
There's nothing logged. No duty roster, no power to the elevator.
For God's sake. That security console's still working. Isaac, get a damage report. I'm done playing around.
It's like they didn't change the underlying game. That's what I'm saying. That's what it feels like to me.
Oh God, that smell.
What have you got, Isaac?
Shit. It's not just comms or the guidance system. Half the Ishimura's in the red. Engines, hull, the trams.
What could do that kind of damage to a planet cracker?
Emergency power. Ventilation's up. Power to the elevator should be...
Hazardous anomaly detected. Quarantine activated.
Another malfunction?
No. The quarantine systems are all fine.
Oh, wait. Do you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it.
Hammond?
Take it easy. Daniels, get those elevators running.
There's something in here with us.
Up there!
Jen! No! Daniels, get the doors open! Kendra, the door!
Yeah, he just sat there and watched them all die and was like, all right, guys, I'll see you later. The animations are so weird. They don't look new. It's the lighting is pristine. It looks so pretty. And then like the guy was like floating along the ground. He wasn't animating forward and crawling forward. He was just sliding forward.
Security request retrieved.
It didn't die. We shot that fucker right between the eyes and it didn't die. Smith had to shoot its fucking arms and legs off. For God's sake, send help!
Like, I said this the last time we watched gameplay when he was floating and flying. I said the animations look like the old game. They look stiff and dated. They don't look new.
Isaac. Oh my God, Isaac. You made it.
They're everywhere. Shin, is he,
He's gone. Nothing I can do. What the fuck are these things?
The ones I saw, some of them were wearing Ishimura uniforms.
They're the crew? How the hell can they be the crew? Look at them.
We need to get to the bridge. There's 1,000 people on board. Someone will be there.
We can't. The tram system's wrecked. Everything's locked down because of the quarantine.
And you're both repair techs, so how do we do this?
You're sensing some bias? What do you mean? I'm not the only one that noticed that weird animation on the ground. A bunch of people pointed it out.
Call the tram until we get a spare from the maintenance bay. But it's all on Isaac's side of a quarantine.
I'll handle it. Just make sure there's power to the repair systems.
And Isaac,
Yeah?
I'm sure Nicole's okay. She's a doctor, right? She'll do the smart thing.
Yeah. Yeah, she always does. Find somewhere safe. I'll be back soon.
Just the way he ran up the stairs there. I'm telling you, something is off with the movement and the animations, bro.
Isaac, don't bother shooting those fuckers in the head. Doesn't even slow them down.
Okay. The only way is hacking them apart. Those arms, their legs.
Does that even kill them? Or do they just stop moving?
I'm telling you,
Message retrieved.
it's gonna be like Callisto. It's gonna be pretty and it's gonna run poor. I can feel it.
We need one in tram maintenance stat. The autoloader's fried. I got a damaged tram car on the tracks, and if the whole system's gridlocked, guess who they're calling?
Temple
Prepare
is sending a
systems
stasis module now.
online. Loading system.
Yeah, Eugene just said it. It looks disconnected from the world, like it's all floaty. It's like nothing's touching anything. You know what I'm saying?
Repair technician.
No? I know.
It's like nothing's grounded.
Right loader claw disengaged. Right loader claw engaged.
I don't think they're deal breakers either, Sven, but I just think this thing should be $50, and I think a lot of us would be like, that's a really nice looking remake. I'm not seeing $70 worth of quality.
Left loader claw engaged. Replacing damaged tram car. Please stand by.
You're reaching for negative things to say your Callisto coverage was the opposite? No, it wasn't. My Callisto coverage was negative. I played the game and was very critical of it. That's not true at all. Yes, the Ishimura is now interconnected. Yes, that is true. They announced that. When you didn't play the game, you were praising Callisto. I was praising the graphical fidelity of Callisto, and I still praise the graphical fidelity of Callisto. I describe Callisto as a really pretty Ferrari that doesn't run very well. It just feels clunky to play. Callisto's gorgeous. Like, this game looks crazy good compared to the original, but all the movement, all the animations, it just looks clunky and weird. I can't put my finger on what's wrong. It doesn't feel like a remake. It looks like a remaster. It's like the original game is still underneath here, is what it feels like to me. I think that's fair.
We can't run the trams without it.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the enemy AI... I didn't play the original Dead Space. Is the enemy AI this brain dead in the beginning? They're all just standing around half the time. Is that how the game starts? All right, we'll loop that. We're going to loop that. And we'll watch it in 4K now. I think that's more of a skill issue. No, dismissing my critiques of the way that the movement and the camera and the controls in Callisto are, dismissing that as a skill issue is just ignorant. That is absolutely not a fair response to my critique and criticism of the controls. I am not the only person that has criticized the gameplay and the controls of Callisto. I'm in very good company. To dismiss it as a skill issue is that just feels like insecurity and copium. Like, oh, I can't believe nobody likes it. It must be a skill issue. No, it's not a skill issue at all. And my issues with this game, My issues with this game is that if you look at this game's, the screenshots and the comparisons to the original, it looks absolutely awesome. But then when you actually watch it in action, something is off. Like, something's off. It's like the animations are floaty and clunky. It's like it's not finished or something. 15 years ago, the enemy AI seemed good to me, but that was 15 years ago. Callisto is super easy. You don't even have to time the dodges. That's what I'm saying. I haven't said anything to indicate that Callisto's too hard. I said that it's bad. The controls are bad. The combat is bad. Once you figure out the dodging mechanic, it's not difficult. Go watch the second half of my gameplay. Almost nothing hits me. The only thing that hits me is the cheap jump scare damage. Like something pops out of a box, or, you know, I crawl through an air duct and get grabbed on the other side, and they automatically get to hurt you. It's not, you can't mitigate it. The animations are still the same as the old ones, but they've been hand adjusted rather than redone properly. The slow, deliberate gameplay is intentional. Yeah, it's like they're not even moving around quickly and doing things in this. It's almost like they're trying to hide the rough edges. Game looks cool. Stop crying. Man, it's amazing to me how somebody will say stop crying and you look like the fragile one. Like, you look like the one that can't take somebody being critical of something that you're excited about. Like, I'm just doing what I've always done. I'm analyzing what I'm seeing. I'm praising what looks good and questioning what looks weird. And the fans of this game are so insecure, so childish. Like, it's just like this brigade of butthurt babies that are like, oh, I can't believe a guy doesn't like something I'm already predisposed to like. It's like, get over it, man. If nobody worships this thing from moment one, they're crying or they're a hater? Like, give me a break. That's just inverse of hatred. That's just inverted fandom. You are automatically in love with this? Come on. Plenty of people are looking at this and saying, something feels off. The animations are funky. There's a floatiness. Like, the first xenomorph or necromorph he encounters, like, slides across the ground. He doesn't even animate. It's like he literally just, like, it's like he almost, like, hovers forward. I love Dead Space. I grew up with the game, and I couldn't agree more with your assessment. Right. I can't be the only one looking at this and thinking, it's a $70 next-gen remake, and it looks mid. It looks like an old game that's been made pretty. Again, like my favorite genre, the gameplay looks bad. They massacred my boy. Callisto has superior graphics, but that's where they put all their money. Dead Space might have put more on gameplay and expanding the game. Not all next-gens will be Callisto. Yeah, Callisto is absolutely beautiful and stunning, but that's where my praise ends. My praise of Callisto ends right after that. Everything else just doesn't flow right. It's super linear. It's not really scary. It's full of jump scares. The jump scares automatically get to hurt you, which makes no sense in a survival horror game to have damage that can't be mitigated. Like, what is that? And then the combat itself, even once you figure out the combat, it's not satisfying. Now, watch the way he turns here. Like, I don't understand. Like, why are they moving the way that they're moving? It doesn't feel like a next-gen remake. It literally looks goofy or choppy. That's not true at all. Dead Space Remake is made with the Unreal Engine 5. EA know what they're doing, unlike Glenn at striking distance. Do we have confirmation that this has been built in Unreal 5? Dead Space Remake, Unreal 5? Where did you get that information? I'm not seeing anything. Battle Royale report switching to Unreal 5. It's Frostbite, says Paul. It's Frostbite. Yeah, look at you. Look at you in here defending the game and telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not, you don't even know what you're talking about. It's not Unreal 5. It's Frostbite. And if there's one thing I know about the Frostbite engine, it's full of razor blades. And animation sets are tough to build in it. Dead Space is charging TLU level remake. It's Frostbite, and it's an experimental project for the team doing Iron Man. This is the way it's supposed to be. You need to live stream the original. Callisto's Unreal 4, Dead Space is not. When he turns like that, that's the 180 turn like some games do. Right, no, I know what he's doing, Roic. It just doesn't look like it's been animated. It looks like it just happens. Does that make sense? Like, I want you to watch this with a critical eye, and just watch. So many of the animations, they don't look like they've been animated. It's almost like it's like they tell the character, do this, and then he just kind of does it. Sven says, for the people who have never played the original or just expect more from 70, the criticism's valid. I think this game is going to fall into people who love it and fans of the OG game aren't going to care, or people are going to want it to be more with new gen standards. Even as someone who regards this game as a favorite of all time, I think people like you and Eugene's criticisms are valid. I'm too invested to care. Right, I think that's totally fair, Sven. I think that's totally fair. If you're just tuning in, we're breaking down the Dead Space Remake new gameplay. And I think fans of Dead Space, they're the ones that are absolutely shredding me and ripping me up in the comments on my short, because they have decided this is already a masterpiece. And the rest of us that are like, listen, man, I'm not a huge Dead Space fan. I'm looking for a $70 next-gen remake, and I ain't seeing it. I'm seeing slow, clunky movement and gameplay. I'm seeing brain-dead AI. I'm seeing animations that look like a 10-year-old game. That's what I'm seeing. I don't see a game that's been rebuilt from the ground up. I see a pretty remake that is not at the level of a $70 next-gen remake. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it sucks. I'm saying, brother, when I'm looking for a $70 next-gen remake, I expect it to be at a higher level of threshold than what I see in this video. Eugene says, I played them all. I even like 3. At this point, I compare every remake to the Resident Evil remake, says Darkstar. Yeah, like, I'm not being a hater. Like, I was really excited about this. I was extremely excited about this game. I remember when the day they debuted the gameplay, I was, like, defending it. I was like, because I think it was Eugene that was like, I don't know, I think Callisto's going to be a lot better. And I was like, I don't know, man. I think this remake's going to be dope. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. And then we watched the gameplay, and the more I watched it, the more I was like, something's wrong. Something's not right. There's something beneath the surface that feels just off and dated. I can't put my fingers on it. All I can tell you is, and this part's great, by the way, the blood here is really well done. I actually think this is probably one of the best looking parts. Like, well, except for the blood animations at the top of the door. See how they're dripping down and almost like they don't match the timing of the framing of the game. See the door, see the blood dripping down at the top? That's weird. Everything else looks great, but that drip on the door, it looks like it's the timing's off, the frame pacing's off or something. That guy's a Chad. He cites the Resident Evil 2 remake. The Resident Evil 2 remake was highly praised. What are you talking about? What's wrong with the Resident Evil 2 remake? I think all the best graphics come from Sony, Zero Dawn, God of War, now Callisto. Yeah, Callisto's not a Sony game. The frame times in this game are going to be horrendous. If you think Dead Space or Callisto Protocol are scary, then you're a toddler. No grown adult considers action horror games scary. I don't think you're using the appropriate categories. We're not saying scary like we're a little kid, like, I don't want to move. Splitting a hair much? I wasn't splitting a hair. I said that it looked good, and then I would have looked at it closely. The animation timings were funky. I did that in Callisto. I walked up to the fire, and I was like, the animation timing on the fire doesn't match the frame timing of the rest of the game. It's like there's something wrong. Resident Evil 2 Remake is great, and they really dropped the ball with Resident Evil 3, says Jazzification. Yeah, okay, now I want you to watch this sequence here. Watch. So he shoots his legs out. You see how he's just sliding forward? It's like he's not interacting with the environment around him. It feels like a prefab thing, like, hey, move from point A to point B. Like his arms are moving, but they're not actually touching and pulling him forward. It's like a wind-up toy. It's like, yeah, move your arms, and then we're just going to drag the character forward. Yeah, Sony helped with mocap for Callisto, but they didn't help build the game. He still had a back leg. He's just using his claws. Well, yeah, I know that, but he doesn't interact with the environment with his claws. It's not like he puts his claws forward and pulls forward. He just moves his claws, and his body just floats forward. Got wheels under it. Maybe he's on a skateboard. Listen, we've not been asking for likes, but if you guys are enjoying the breakdown, man, smash that like button. You need to live stream the original? This is the game? Quit telling me to live stream the original. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a gameplay. I don't play lots of games on stream. I'm not a gameplay grounded channel. We're a live talk show channel. Most of the new remakes that are releasing are not proper remakes. He looked like he was on a hoverboard. That's what I'm saying. Like, watch some of the sequences coming up. I think that people have already decided they're going to enjoy this, and that's totally fine. I am not going to try to convince you to not enjoy this. That's not my job. I've never set out to do that. Like, I think people take it personal. They're like, I'm a huge Dead Space fan, and this guy's just a hater. No, that is not what I'm doing. I am merely looking at all the pieces and all the parts of a $70 remake, and I'm finding a lot of the pieces and a lot of the parts lacking. On the glitch side, 150 employees helped aid the development of Callisto Protocol by enlisting over 150 workers of the game. The team included animators, coders, engineers, and more. All the reports I saw, they were working on the mocap. It's still not a Sony title. If you're going to try to claim Callisto's a Sony title and be like, yeah, look how pretty Callisto is, that's a hat tip to Sony, you're reaching. You're telling me the T-Lu is not a proper remake, it's the gold standard? Yeah, T-Lu remake is what a remake should do. I think the same. I hate to say this, but this looks like the early builds they showed us a year ago. I'm a big Dead Space fan, but this doesn't look finished at all. Thank you. It's not my job to affirm your emotional response to something. Like, if you're excited about this, it's not my job to be like, yeah, man, I'm excited too. That's not my job. What I've always done with my coverage and my channel is I break down everything. I look at every piece of the game. I do this with games that have loot tables. I do this with games that have content loops or live service. What's it doing at every level? And when you got a $70 remake, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at animations, movements, gameplay, graphical fidelity. Why would I not look at those things? Would you just like some kind of a dum-dum be like, well, the screenshots look great? Like, of course, that's not an appropriate way to look at something like this. It looks finished but not 70. I think the animation sets and the move sets in this look funky. It just looks like it's lacking polish. Now, they may be able to get it polished before its release date, but homies, we're a month and a half away now. I don't think there's that much they can do between now and then. I think this is what it's going to look like when you play the game. I had a ton of people get in my comments, and they're like, this guy's an idiot. This is an early alpha build. And I'm like, who the frick markets their game with early alpha footage? Why would you do that? Like, in what we're watching right now, like, I think this is what it's going to look like when you get it and play it. And I think fans are going to have a great time. I think people like me are going to find it lacking. We're going to be like, I don't know. The shooting looks bad, and I was saying that with the reveal. Vigil says, let's get to 400 likes, chat. Let's do it. Looks fine compared to the original, leaps and bounds. Iron Lord Reptar, that is not how I judge something. I don't judge something by how much better it looks than the original, okay? If Ford Motor Company came out with the Ford Model T in 2022 and they charged the typical new car price for the Ford Model T and it ran poorly and it had weird things happening when you turned, you wouldn't be like, yeah, but look how much better it is than the original Ford Model T. That's not how you judge something's value. That's one way to judge the value, but it's not the only thing. No true dismemberment, I'm out. I think, he's dismembering people in this. He shoots their limbs off. What do you mean? There's dismemberment in this. The Demon Souls remake, The Last of Us Part 1 remake, God of War 2018 to Ragnarok, Callisto Protocol, and Horizon Forbidden West on the PS5 have the best graphics of all timed exclusives to PS5. Callisto's not anything timed exclusive to PS5. I don't know why you keep trying to bake that one in. Yeah, he's dismembering him. He shoots off a leg right there. Serious inquiry here. What do we see as the difference between this and the Demon Souls remake? I think the graphical fidelity in the Demon Souls remake is top shelf. Now, here's the thing. Demon Souls is still faithful to itself, though. I feel like the combat and the animation and the movement in Demon Souls feels dated. It does. Play Elden Ring for a couple of hours, and then go play the Demon Souls remake, and you'll feel what I'm talking about. There is something there that beneath the surface that you're like, yeah, this is still an old game underneath for the most part. Demon Souls is beautiful. The remake is absolutely beautiful, but I feel like the movement and the animations, it feels like Demon Souls underneath. This just shows the true difference between a remake and a remaster. Tilu, they rebuilt from the ground up a bunch of the game. This looks like they just took an existing game and upped the graphics. Yeah, I don't want to do the whole, this is not a remake, this is just a remaster, but the more I watch, this does look more like a remaster than a remake. And I'm not trying to be unfair. I know they rebuilt a lot for this, so I'm not going to say that concretely. I think this is a remake. You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. This is a remake. I don't think it's a $70 next-gen remake. That's what I want to say. I think I could go to bat for this game and defend it and say, this is a remake. This is not a remaster. They did way too much work to classify this as a remaster. This is a remake. However, it is not a $70 next-gen remake. Do you expect a completely new game? No. This game only started serious development on this in mid-2020, according to stuff that I've read. It's only 70 on consoles. It's like 40 on PC. I don't think it's 40 on PC. I think it's 60. Yo, my man Mason. My man Mason taking us up one more member. What was the member count? That takes us to 7 members. That takes us halfway to the goal of 15 members for the day. Thank you so much for that, Mason. CD keys, I can get it for 40. Oh, so you can go to like off market, and buy. Oh yeah, so you support that? I don't support that. Exactly. Call it what you want. I'm not seeing enough to justify the $70 price tag. Eugene says, Tilu 1 Part 1, I felt like I was playing Tilu 2, which was a major improvement in the gameplay. Looking at this, I don't feel any gameplay improvements. It does feel light on gameplay. It does. The shooting just doesn't feel like the cutting of the limbs off. It shows muscle falling off, but the arms stay on. No, his arm 100% falls off in that one sequence. What would you value this game's purchase price to be, your opinion? I would say 50. Yeah, I would say 50. It's a $50 game in my mind. It looks like a $50 remake, and fans of the game are going to probably be thrilled with it. Folks like me that are like, oh, a $70 next-gen remake? Oh my gosh. It's going to be amazing. Like, imagine if when The Witcher 1 remake comes out, everything moves and feels the same way, but it's prettier. Well, I wouldn't expect to pay $70 for that. I'd be like, well, that better be about $50. Will it have performance and quality? They haven't said. Callisto was a $40 game. Yeah, I've told people not to buy Callisto Protocol. Everybody thinks I'm some kind of a Callisto Protocol fanboy because I've been critical of the Dead Space remake. I told people don't get Callisto. I don't think it's worthy of your purchase. It's extremely linear in the game. I think the gameplay is bad. I don't think it's fun. It's not enjoyable. Super linear, not scary. The story's virtually non-existent. Callisto is a very, very beautiful Ferrari that runs like they put a remote control car engine in it. It just doesn't feel good to play it. People are really trying to justify the $70 price for this game. It's an insult to games like Resident Evil 4 Remake that cost $70. I think a good example of a good remake would be the Resident Evil ones where they change something about the gameplay. Crawl Space Protocol. I just arrived. What's the verdict on the new gameplay? It looks like a significant uptick from the original, but the movement and the animations look old. They don't look like they've improved them. This is $70 next gen only? Yes. Callisto is not next gen only, and it still looks better. UE5 is the key. Oh, nice thumbnail. That'll work. Callisto's a Ferrari body on a Honda Civic. Still not super convinced? No. It's too short of a clip to judge, but I'm not seeing any gameplay or quality of life improvement. Sure, lighting, haptics, audio, etc. are probably all better, but this is not for me at 70. It's not scary, but you got scared by Steam. I wouldn't say jump scares are how I classify a scary game. I feel like jump scares are kind of easy, are they not? I don't know. Creating a sense of foreboding and dread and fear, I think, is a unique gift that game development companies can give you, right? I think it's a unique thing. And the more I play games like that, I'm like, yeah, jump scares are cool, but they're also kind of cheap. You know, and some of the jump scares, they got to hurt you. They're like, rah, and it would grab you and take a chunk of your health. I think the Steam reviews scared everyone. Walking animation has improved since the last showcase, but now we gotta focus on the necromorphs and the weight of the guns. Nothing feels heavy or punchy. Gaming on Broadway, I agree with that as well. Everything feels like you're punching a pillow. It all feels non-impactful. Kuda Papa with a $5 tip says, using UE5 instead of Frostbite would have been a good thing. Frostbite's made for Battlefield. Anything else is hard to dev in that engine. Yeah, ask Anthem about that. Jump scares are like camera shake or lens flare. Gotta use them carefully. Done well, it works. Too easy to go overboard. I agree. Black45 says, 500 watching and only 226 likes? Come on, guys. I feel like you have to set your environment and also allow yourself to be scared. For sure. Just feels more like a cash grab based on all the success of the remakes right now. Should have taken the time to rebuild the whole game. Yeah, like, watch when they get to the parts where, like, stuff's happening. It all just feels so... How do I want to say it? It just feels really neutered and, like, flat. And, like what... I like how he phrased it. There's no weight to anything. You know what I mean? It just feels like there's no weight. I watched the 4K version... The laser animations are better. Oh, the later animations are better. Almost like it takes place in space. So we're going to just give... That's going to be the excuse? You think that's a legitimate excuse? Like... Here, I'm going to show you something. So, maybe you missed this... Maybe you missed this day in school. But do you see that desk? How there's a book and a cup sitting on the desk and not floating? Class, please help him out. What's the reason that cup and that book is sitting there? Gravity! There's gravity, bro! What the heck? Just because they're in space doesn't mean there ain't gravity in the ship. Everything's allowed to be floaty and light and not impactful. We're in space, bro. Get the frick out of here. What is happening? You're comparing graphics despite the fact that this looks completely different. Also, they changed the areas around. Now, hang on, Jarrett, hang on. I can't do this every single time. But I have said numerous times, this looks way better than the original. But that's not the only thing we can use to talk about is it good or not. As I said before, if Ford Motor Company released a Ford Model T right now and they were charging the price of all these new cars on the market, it would be totally fair for you to say, I expect this car to be at the standard of all the other cars in that price point. And when I look at this, I don't see a $70 next-gen remake. I see a very good-looking, updated Dead Space. I see clunky animations. I see a lack of weight and punch. It just seems very... There's a lot of oddities in it. There's just things that look amazing. Like that right there looks spectacular. It does. It looks spectacular. But then when he starts moving around and shooting, it doesn't look good. It looks weird. There's a floatiness. There's a... And again, it looks like there's an old game underneath. That's the issue. I'm paying $70 for a next-gen remake that, as far as I can tell, it's going to feel like I'm playing a 15-year-old game. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. Like, go boot up GoldenEye, okay? If I could wave a magic wand and make GoldenEye look incredible, UE5, photorealistic, but I didn't change anything else, you'd be like, I mean, yeah, it still kind of feels like GoldenEye. Like, it's pretty and all, but, like, everything feels kind of like an old Nintendo 64 game. The graphics wouldn't hide that from you. Does that make sense? Neither is comparing the first chapter without seeing the full game. I don't have to see the full game to know that he is moving in an awkward way. The enemies move in an awkward way. The way that he shoots feels not impactful. Like there's no weight to the shots. Now, see, there's dismemberment. His leg came off. Like, look at the way that he floats across the ground. It looks like he's sort of placed on top of the game. And it's like, well, hey, move your arms. And as he moves his arms, he just sort of slides forward. It's like he's not interacting with it. It looks weird. It looks odd. It's not that it looks bad. I'm like, that's garbage. I'm like, that doesn't look right. Something's off. It looks like an old game underneath really, really pretty graphics. The reason you're paying $70 is because Sony decided to inflate their prices for no reason. Wow. You typed that and you think that that's real. Yeah, I'm trying to find a spot where he moves around. Eugene. This is perfect. This is a perfect spot. 2537. Yep, 2537. All right, let me do something for you guys. Let me do something for you guys. I have an idea. Let's go back to where he shoots that guy. Yeah, right here. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a side-by-side comparison of the original game and this game. So I got PC HD. I've got a PC HD version. All right. Okay, so this is the original game. All right. Now, undeniably, the graphics are so much better in the remake. But I want you to watch the player movement, and I want you to watch the shooting. Okay? Watch the way he steps through here and turns. Watch the way he aims, and look at the way the enemy reacts. Okay? Here's another one. There's arguably better physics and reaction to being shot in the old game. And then, let's watch this. Again, the player movement and the pulling of the gun up, it all feels very similar. And then, again, I feel like there's less weight to his shots in this. You see what I'm saying? Something's off. Like, we just watched the old game, and it feels like there's more impact. There's more physics. There's more flying of the body parts and stuff. And in this, it's like you're not affecting them. The old game felt better. Yeah, there's a weight to it. I wonder if it feels floaty because you don't have the audio? It's like the enemy doesn't react to being shot. Right, in the original footage, it's like he reacts. He gets blasted back and his arms go flying off. And in this, it's like you're not doing anything. It's like the enemy's just like crawling forward. A $2 tip from Lazaro. Get the likes up before I turn y'all into Dead Space. Again, nobody's denying the graphical uptick. It's the movement. It's the feel of the game. It's off. It's like you're not really there. You're floating through these areas. I noticed the flesh is actually coming off the enemy now when shot. The impact from the shot is taking off me. Didn't they switch to a new graphics engine? Wouldn't the physics be different? Yeah, maybe, Brolo, and it doesn't feel like it's gotten better. It feels like it's like Eugene said, it's almost like it's regressed. Like, I'm not trying to be a hater, but it's like if you look at his movement and the way he moves through the game, and then you look at the movement from the footage that we just saw, like, even the bringing the gun up, Again, that just feels like an old game. That doesn't feel like something that's been newly animated. It's just like, bink, the gun comes up instantly. It doesn't... Like I said, it's almost like it's not animated. They just tell it, go from point A to point B. Like when the necromorph's crawling on the ground or when he brings his gun up. Everything has like an oddity to it. It's a base weapon, so the impact might be later in the game. All the weapons are upgradable. I mean, the arms and limbs are breaking off pretty quickly, Kinsley. It doesn't feel like the weapon's weak. I mean, I think that guy was using the base weapon. This is a full gameplay walkthrough, and we're 25 minutes in. I think this guy's using, like, an early version of the weapon. The second fight. Look at the reaction. And again, look at the player movement and how he moves around and turns. It doesn't look any different in the new game. There's like a stiffness to it, almost on rails, and that's fine for this time period. This game was revolutionary. See the way he's moving through the hallways and stuff? Look at the way he turns. Look at the way, like, it's almost like he's pivoting. It's like he's pivoting and sliding around. And again, 15 years ago, that was fine. Usually agree with your takes, but in this situation, I feel like you're being a little too nitpicky. I'll wear that hat. If you're gonna charge $70 for a next gen only remake, I'm gonna be nitpicky. And if you don't want me to be nitpicky, then don't frickin' charge $70 and don't make it next gen only. You want to drag my expectations to the top shelf? I'm gonna analyze it like it's a top shelf offering. I'm going to be nitpicky for a $70 next gen only remake. And if you're not going to be nitpicky, that's totally fine. You're well within your right to do that. Like, when I saw the new cutscenes in The Last of Us Part 1, and I saw the new movement, and I saw the new combat, and I saw the side-by-sides, it felt like the full package. We saw the side-by-side comparisons and the screenshots. I was like, oh my gosh. I saw the side-by-side screenshot comparisons for this game, and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks phenomenal. And then I saw the gameplay, and I was like, wait, something's not right. I immediately zeroed in on animations and stuff. Would you be less nitpicky if the game was priced at $40 or $50? Yeah. Like I said, I'm looking. I feel like I'm looking at a $50 remake. Yeah. I would be very different. My attitude would be very different. Yes. Because I criticized The Last of Us Part 1 being $70, and then I played it, and I changed my mind. I was like, it's a next-gen experience. It's remarkable. The sound, the environments, the lighting, the graphical fidelity. I was like, yeah, this is a $70 piece of property. This is a top-shelf bottle of whiskey, okay? And when I'm looking at this, I'm like, I don't know. I see a very good-looking $50 remake. That's what I see. I see clunky, dated animations and movement. I see a lack of weight and punch. I see a floatiness, you know. P. Dudley says, I agree, it shouldn't be 70. I think I would be framing everything so much differently if it wasn't 70. I'd be like, you know, I was like, it's $50. You can still sense the old game is there, but it's a beautiful remake. That would be what I would be saying. Here, I'm going to say it another way. And I think this will make sense to you guys why I'm being nitpicky. When I see a $70 next-gen only remake and I'm going to spend that money, I expect to have what feels like a next-gen new game experience. Even if the story is the same, the experience doesn't need to feel like the old game. And what I'm seeing in this particular next-gen remake is a game that will not deliver a next-gen gameplay experience. And so that's my disconnect. I'm like, no, this looks like a $50 remake. If it was a $50 remake, I wouldn't come to it with the expectations of having a brand new next-gen game experience. Does that make sense? Like, I wish I could replay The Last of Us Part 1 remake. Why? Because it literally felt like a brand new next-gen game. I know the story is the same. I know that. But the upgrade made such a difference that I'm like, I'm playing a brand new next-gen game. So as soon as you charge $70 and it's next-gen only, I'm like, okay, I'm expecting it to feel like a brand new game. Think of it this way. I could replay God of War Ragnarok right now, and I would be still having a brand new next-gen game experience, even though I know what's happening in the game. I know what's coming. Just my knowledge of the story doesn't negate the quality of the game. Does that make sense? So just because you know what happens in Dead Space doesn't mean they can't deliver a truly next-gen new game experience. I'm not seeing any evidence of that in these trailers. I'm seeing an old game that will move and play like an old game, but's been made to be quite a bit prettier. Like, The Last of Us Remake, the devs literally could not shut up about all the things they did. They had blog post after blog post of all the things that they had done, all the systems that they had rebuilt. They literally wouldn't shut up about that game. It was like, oh my gosh. Every time I turned around, there was a blog or a video with like all this information about what they did. All I'm seeing in the Dead Space Remake is gameplay that the minute I get critical of it, I get a bunch of hate from fans of the game that tell me to shut up and that I'm just hating and it's going to be an amazing experience. And it's like, or I get told that it's just an early alpha build and it's going to look way better later on. I'm like, well, which is it? Does it look fine, or is it an early alpha build that's going to get fixed later on? Your main gripe is price. That's fair. I don't want to say my main gripe is price, because then it makes it sound like I'm some penny-pinching entitled snowflake that's like, I don't want to pay $70 for games. Price is not my gripe. My gripe is, you are saying that you are delivering a $70 next-gen remake, and I don't see evidence of that. I see a very pretty remake that looks like the old game is still underneath. Do you see the difference in framing, P. Dudley? I'm like, it's not about like, oh, I don't want to spend $70. It's like, you got me excited. You got a lot of people excited about this. A $70 next-gen remake of Dead Space? That's a cult classic. Oh my gosh, yes! I never played the original. I'll be able to experience a next-gen version of Dead Space, and I'm not seeing that in the gameplay. I'm not. Like, I really think people, they think I'm a hater, and it's like, dude, I was so pumped to play this. I was so pumped. I was like, I never played the original. I played Dead Space 3 with my buddy because we were on a big co-op game kick, and we played Dead Space 3 co-op, and we had a lot of fun with it. And I was always told that I should go back and play the original. I have a really hard time going back and playing older games because they just don't feel as good as newer games, and it makes it harder for me to enjoy them. I had that experience when I tried to play the Demon's Souls remake after playing Elden Ring. It just didn't feel as good. I was too used to the new combat fluidity in the movement, and I also was used to the new checkpoint systems in Elden Ring, right? So when I looked at Dead Space, I got immediately excited. I was like, bro, everybody's always told me that I need to play the original. I'm going to be able to play the original, the classic, the game that started it all, and I'm going to be able to play a next-gen version of it. I am not seeing a next-gen version of Dead Space. I'm seeing a very pretty Dead Space that ultimately is still the old game underneath. You are hating. You won't play the original. This is the way the game is supposed to play. The original Dead Space still plays great. Try it. I'm not hating just because I refuse to play the original game. You're unfamiliar with my coverage if you think I'm going to go play an old game. I'm not going to hurt my channel's metrics to satisfy one dum-dum in the audience. It's like, you have to play the original. Shut the frick up and go play it yourself. I think you'll still be pumped. The story is where it's at. Everything else is extra butter. If it's pretty and the old game underneath, you'll have played the original. Yeah, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to play a next-gen version of Dead Space. Imagine saying you like movies but can't watch the classics. I didn't say that. That's a false equivalency. I actually really enjoy watching classic movies. I enjoy watching Alfred Hitchcock and the brilliance that he brought to making movies scary. I enjoy watching Twilight Zone, and the creativity and the storytelling was actually quite gripping. What I said was, I have a hard time playing old games because they don't feel like the new games. The movements, the fluidity, the performance, the graphics, the frame rate, it makes it hard to enjoy those old games. It's a false equivalency to assume that I don't like classic movies just because I can't go back and play like Time Splitters on a GameCube and feel like, oh, this is well worth a full playthrough. It's gonna feel old. The polish and the veneer is gonna chip right away because it's nostalgic, right? I'm dumb because I asked you to play part of gaming history. I see you. No, you're dumb because you keep insisting that I do something with my channel that I don't do. That's what's making you dumb. I've made it clear I can't go back and play old games just because I want to. That would be a really bad decision. When you have like a really giant channel and maybe you're known for going through the classics, you can do that. I'm known for doing a talk show. It's one of the reasons that everybody's here right now debating me. It's the brand and the show and the main offering. Like, you know what I'm saying? Go tell Joe Rogan that he should start singing opera, and you would look just as stupid. Be like, that's not his brand. Play it on your own. I don't have time for that. I'm married with 2 children, and I run multiple channels and coordinate and strategize how to handle all my channels with my producer. So if I had time to play games off stream, I'd be playing games that I never really got to truly finish or play exhaustively. Like, I'd go back and do all the extra content in Ragnarok. I'd go play Ghost of Tsushima. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't go play freaking Dead Space 1 on your recommendation. You just said you played Dead Space 3. You had time for that garbage. You seem to have a really hard time listening, either because you're incredibly stupid or because you're just being a jackass. I said that I played Dead Space 3 because, listen closely, I know this is hard for you. I was going through a co-op kick with my buddy, and we played through it cooperatively and had fun. We literally played it when it released. Do you understand how life changes and commitments change? At the time that I played that game, I didn't have 2 children. I wasn't running a YouTube channel. I was playing it back when I was playing video games almost all day with my buddy. So, different time in my life. I mean, maybe you're 12 or you still live with your parents and don't have any responsibilities, so you don't understand what that's like. But I'm not at a point in my life right now where I can be like, I'm just going to play a bunch of video games. Like, I literally don't have the time for that. Thought you said you just played it? No, I said I played it with my buddy because I was going through a big co-op kick at the time, and every time I brought it up, people were like, bro, you got to go back and play Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2. And I was like, I don't have time for that. I'm saying you have no frame of reference to comment on this. It's supposed to be clunky just like RE4. See, so what you're trying to do is you're attempting to get underneath my criticisms, so instead of engaging with the criticisms, you can simply denounce or dismiss them. So what you're essentially doing is you're pulling fallacy of the expert or fallacy of the professional. You're essentially saying, I'm not qualified to talk about what Dead Space Remake looks like because I never played the original, right? So you're attempting to act like my input is, it's also some form of the version of the argumentative fallacy of poisoning the well. Like, I'm not allowed to talk about what I'm looking in this game because I didn't play the original. So I have to go back and play the original 15-year-old game to know what a next-gen remake should look like with respect to movement, animations, graphical fidelity, fluidity of movement, and combat, and the moment-to-moment intensity. I'm not allowed to have opinions about that because I didn't play the game when it first came out. You're simply attempting to denounce criticism and get underneath my viewpoint because it's true. You can look at this and see there's something that's clunky and off. And you're like, oh, it's supposed to be clunky and off. Oh, okay. Resident Evil 2 and 3 were not clunky. Resident Evil 4 isn't clunky. The next-gen argument is fair. Thank you. Like, I don't feel like I'm being unfair. Your input on the remake is 100% not important to anyone that would actually care if you didn't play the original. There's too many negatives in that statement. What are you trying to say? The game is meant for new gamers and old gamers, so I think your opinion matters. They are not just advertising to cult fans. That's what I'm saying, bro. You guys have to understand, my criticism and my disappointment comes from excitement. I was excited. I was literally excited. I was like, oh, that's going to be dope, bro. I was defending the game when somebody was like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that good. I was literally defending the game. I was like, bro, I don't know. The screenshots look spectacular. I'm pumped. I'm going to get to play a next-gen version of Dead Space. And everything I've seen has shown me, yeah, no, you're going to get to play Dead Space as it originally felt, and it's just going to be prettier. Well, that's not what I was looking forward to. I wasn't looking forward to a glorified remaster. I was looking forward to, actually experiencing a next-gen version. IGN's written an article that Microsoft has made the decision that their first-party games on Series X and S will cost $70. Really? We want a new story, new mechanics, etc., not the same old bullcrap with upgraded visuals, no style or fluidity within the gameplay. You can clearly see frame rate drops here. I'm still not standing on the hill that EA got wind that Glenn was making Callisto and they rounded up a few devs and said, you have 2 years to get this out. Oh, you think that's what happened, Jake? Resident Evil 4 is clunky. The Resident Evil director even says that he designed it that way to build tension. Same decision for Dead Space. Wait, so you're telling me right now that there's an interview with the Resident Evil 4 director that said it's clunky to build tension. That's what he said? Like, can you substantiate that claim? Telu Remake is a glorified remaster. That's intellectually bankrupt and false. That's a lie and not true. It's not substantiated by facts or evidence. It's just a lie. This game, they're adding new content, story, and level design. That's fine, but it's completely and utterly falsifiable. It's demonstrably false that The Last of Us is not a remake. It's not true. You can't substantiate that claim with evidence. All evidence points to the contrary. Any technical analysis, any tech breakdown, any listing or outline of the work that went into The Last of Us, like if you look at it objectively, what you're saying is ludicrous. It is a remake. On paper, mathematically, whether you look at the technical analysis or the work that went into The Last of Us Part 1 remake, you cannot say it's a glorified remaster, and if you do, you're literally just saying something that is false. It's an unsubstantiated, unbacked claim. It's just an opinion, bias-laden lie, is all it is. He did say you couldn't move while shooting because of the added tension. Yeah, but that's not saying it's clunky. That doesn't mean, like, player animations and game animations are bad. There's a fine line to clunkiness. Yeah, not being able to move while shooting isn't clunky. They're denying you agency over something to create intensity. I'm saying that if you're going to call this a glorified remaster, then one can call Telu Rewind Part 1 a remake. I myself am not calling it a remake. I'm not saying this is a glorified remaster. What I'm saying is experientially, I think it's going to feel that way. I will readily admit and acknowledge the work that went into this. I'm not going to go on some tear and be like, this is just a remaster. That's intellectually dishonest and I'm not doing it. I was conveying that experientially, it looks to me like that's what it's going to feel like. I have somebody in chat right now telling me it's going to feel like the original and that's on purpose. I don't want to play a pretty version of the original. That's a glorified remaster. I wanted to play a next-gen version of Dead Space 1. Do you see the nuance there? I'm not saying this is a glorified remaster. These guys are lazy. I'm not dealing in clickbait, lowbrow, anti-intellectual, dishonest takes. That's not what I do with my content. I am saying that as far as I can tell, this looks like it will feel and move right in line with parody from the first game. And that's going to experientially feel like a remaster and not a remake. Do you see the difference? I'm not saying it's a remaster. I'm saying it looks like it's going to feel like a remaster. Experientially, I'm not seeing next-gen anything other than the lighting. Maybe the lighting. As a Dead Space fan, I agree. If I want to play the original, I can load it up. If I wanted to play an updated version. Right. Personally, I don't think Telu 1 was old enough to have a remake. It's very, very in-depth upgrade. That's the only updates Telu 2 did to the gameplay. No, there's a laundry list of things they changed and rebuilt. From enemy aggro, to enemy movement, to gameplay movement, to the way the combat flows. They rebuilt all those systems. They literally completely rebuilt the way the enemies move and draw aggro and attack and fight. They rebuilt all that from the ground up. All those systems were completely rebuilt. I mean, in terms of combat? That's what I mean, though. They did. They rebuilt all the combat systems. They just didn't add prone because it wouldn't have made any sense. They couldn't add those things because that's not how those systems were originally designed to interact with. I don't believe it. I don't give a frick what you believe. There's in-depth breakdowns, documentaries, videos, and blogs about it. Like, you can close your eyes and put a blindfold on, but I don't believe it. Well, so the devs just went out and lied then. And they have videos and breakdowns of cone of aggro and enemy movements and enemy combat triggers. They just lied about all that. You're freaking stupid if you think that. I'm sorry, gloves are off. If you think they just walked out and outlined all of that and they weren't being honest, then you're freaking stupid. You're so committed to a narrative that it makes you dumb. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's like dragging yourself into the gutter of Dumbville because you're so committed to one brand. Come on, be smarter than that. Be better than that. You never looked into it? Oh, for frick's sake, we covered it up one side, down the other here, Mo. We covered it exhaustively. Get the frick out of here. There is lengthy blog posts and videos about the work that went into The Last of Us Part 1. Cut the crap. I don't believe it. I don't think they did any of that. Okay. Come on. Jiminy Christmas. Topic for tomorrow? Yeah, maybe, Cliffo. Maybe. I was saying more so that Last of Us 2 wasn't a drastic difference in combat style compared to the first game, which is partly why I was underwhelming with the lack of story. I can't speak to that, homie, because I played The Last of Us 1, I don't even know, 8 years before I played the remake. It felt completely different to me. But again, there's 8 years of difference. I don't think I was here for that. Yeah, but Mo, let me ask you something. Am I a liar? Do I make unvetted, unbacked claims? Is that something that I do? I'm just poking. Well, come on, Mo. Where's the trust? I outlined all that. I said all that they did with their game. You're like, I don't believe it. What the frick? Where's my authority? Where's my authority as a content creator? If you're like, oh, I don't believe it. Lono's known for lying. What the frick? It felt different for you, really? Homie, I just said very carefully. What the F? I just said very carefully. There was 8 years in between when I played The Last of Us and then played The Last of Us Remake. And so, yes, it felt different from me, but I said I couldn't speak to it. Jiminy frickin' Christmas. It felt different. It had been 8 years since I played. It felt like a next-gen game. It felt really good. It certainly didn't feel like I was playing an 8-year-old game, I'll tell you that much. It didn't feel clunky and stiff and bad. I don't think the original felt clunky and stiff and bad, but I thought it felt good. I can speak to that. I played Part 1 a few months before Part 2 released originally, and it was drastic. And then I played Remake 1 and Part 2 back-to-back. Yeah, Yang did the same thing. If you want what I feel like is a really honest breakdown of Last of Us 1 Remake, difference between like Last of Us 1 Remake and the original, like Yang literally bounced between games to draw his own comparisons, and he talks about all the differences and how it feels. So you are well within your right to be like, I didn't feel like it was any different at all, but plenty of people played that game and said, oh my gosh, this feels phenomenal. Graphical update and sound design is all that is present. The gameplay isn't up to par to be labeled next gen. In this, I mean that's the entire point that I've been trying to make. Like, I don't want this to be framed as if I'm hating on this and I'm not going to play it and it's just a remaster. I'm trying to frame this in the way to say, bro, this game is not what I expected. And I was really looking forward to apparently a product that doesn't exist. The original Last of Us gameplay was clunky and stiff when it released. Yeah, I mean, I played it on a PS3. I believe. Was that a PS3 or... Yeah, no, it was PS4. I played it on a PS4. And then later on, I got a PS4 Pro. Dead Space Remake releases January 27th, I believe. Is the TLU remake worth $70? I argued that it wasn't, and then I played it and said it felt like a next-gen game. And then I said, okay, this is a justified price point. Like, I'm being consistent. I think people are trying to trap me or catch me in some sort of a contradiction. I quite literally argued against the $70 price point on TLU remake. And then I played it and said, I feel this is worth it. This is a $70 game. And then when I'm looking at this and I see the movement and the animations and the combat and the gunplay and the lack of weight and the oddities, I'm like, that doesn't look like it's going to be worth $70. It looks like it's going to feel like the original game, and that's not what I want. When I pay $70, I want to feel like it's a brand new next-gen title. Right, Art Callan, and that's subjectivity to the consumer. Like, if you've played the original Last of Us, like, so many times, 100%, yes, you might look at him like, I don't know if I want to go through all that again. I get it. I do. I get it. It's subjective to the play, to the player and how recently they played. What does it truly mean to feel like a next-gen game? It needs to have animation fluidity and combat fluidity that's on parity with other games I've played. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I've played a lot of games recently. Elden Ring's not next gen. I would say Elden Ring is a current gen title, and the melee combat, felt amazing. And the way combat felt in Forbidden West and God of War, like I that's what I expect. And I'm not seeing that. If they added stuff from other games, then that means they did not have to make new animations, right? So did they cheap out? I don't know. Do I get Callisto or wait for this? I actually didn't find Callisto to be that good. I didn't like it. I have it as a do not recommend. Folks are combative with you because you're combative with us, like calling people dumb for no reason. I didn't call you dumb for no reason. 3 times you insisted that I play the original after I told you I didn't have time to. I don't know what else you want me to do. I'm not a combative person. I had people telling me I was hating. I had people telling me I was nitpicking. I had people telling me that list all the things that people were saying. They weren't debating me, right? They weren't debating me and my points. They were talking about my argumentation rather than engaging the argument. I was being nitpicky. I was being biased, right? I was being unfair. I was being a hater. So yeah, when somebody starts saying that, I'm going to get combative. You smell funny? You have never smelled me, Rad. If you already played Dead Space 1, I suggest Callisto. You got to go into Callisto knowing that they made a lot of funny... I think they made some very weird decisions with combat and dodging and the camera. I feel like it's a hard game to love. And the people that love it, I'm happy for them. But you know what's funny, too? Is when I walked away from Callisto, I wanted to play it again later that night. Because I did like sort of being in the game. I liked the idea and the creepiness, but I just can't get over the combat and the design decisions. It's just so frustrating to play for all the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Yo, what's good, Dan? The more I see it, the more I'm convinced Callisto's nothing like Dead Space. Oh no, Callisto's not like Dead Space at all. I don't think so. There are whispers of Dead Space in Callisto. There definitely are like whispers, but it's nothing like Dead Space. No. I'll tell you this right now. I bet you $10 if you'd made me stack chips on an enjoyment scale, I bet you I'd put more chips on the scale of enjoying this Dead Space Remake. I bet you I would. I'd be playing Callisto this week if it had better replay. Now you're wilding. You haven't even played the OG. How can I say that? How can I say what? What are you reacting to? People are going to have an argument for everything you say. It's tough to win. Your points are fair, though. I just want to see the remake be good. Yeah, listen, if you're here debating with me and you're excited about this and you've been respectful, we haven't had to ban anybody, which has been pretty incredible. We love having people like you here. We do. We really, really do. This is what we do. We like to debate. We like to get into the hang on. It's probably edit coffee. There you go, Rad. That Callisto's nothing like Dead Space? Well, what are you talking about? Even people that love Dead Space have said it's not like Dead Space. Like, it is like Dead Space, but it's not. Like, you're not doing the way they set it up and the way it all plays out. It's very different than Dead Space. I'm telling you. If you haven't played Dead Space, how can you say that? I've watched people play it. I'm watching this right now. None of this is how Callisto plays. It's similar, it's not the same. I just think fundamentally the combat is so different. That's what I'm trying to communicate. I'm not dumb. Like, I'm not going to sit here and look at this and look at Callisto and not see all of the similarities. There's a super, super long list of similarities between Callisto and Dead Space. I'm not saying they have no similarities. What I'm saying is the gameplay and the combat, Callisto is in its own weird category with combat. It's nothing like the combat in this. That was the point I was trying to drive home is, like, I'm not ignorant. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're nothing alike. Like, no, there's a laundry list of similarities between the titles, but primarily what you're doing, the movement and the going in the rooms and fighting and stuff, it's so different. Yeah, even level design in Callisto is very linear. It's super linear. It's like Dead Space with bad combat design and extremely weaker story. Callisto looks like Dead Space, but it plays like a bare-knuckle brawler. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's dumbed down Dead Space. Yeah, I think you were just misunderstanding me. I wasn't trying to say that it's nothing like it. I was probably just being hyperbolic. It was like, the combat in Callisto is just so blah. I don't know. Just got here, so is this game really that bad? The critique's right? I'll give you my too long didn't read, okay? As far as I'm concerned, the Dead Space remake looks fantastic when compared to the original, but as far as the gameplay itself, it looks extremely similar to the original, which is not what I was looking forward to. I thought I was going to be buying a $70 next-gen remake that would affect gameplay in more significant ways, and it looks like the old game is largely underneath a very well-done remake, like it's very pretty. Telling you, Callisto's a fighting game where every enemy is trying to beat you down instead of infect you. You think it's feasible for them to have a combat revamp patch, or would that be too much? The melee is 100% the reason I'm holding off right now. Scries, there's just so much in Callisto that I can't make sense of. So you basically just hold left or right, and you automatically dodge any attack that comes in, right? Which is weird. And what ends up happening, there are so many spider webs to my argument here, okay? Let's just take one fight, and let me just talk it through and talk about the permutations of what can happen and how it leads to a very frustrating experience, okay? So you basically just hold left or right, and you just wait for them to attack you, which at a ground level is already not a great system. It just isn't. It just doesn't feel like a good system. Even when you pull off a good fight, it doesn't feel all that satisfying because it's literally just waiting your turn, okay? So you never quite feel like you finessed or timed anything in an impressive way. There's not a lot of satisfaction. This is just me from my perspective talking. But let's pretend some of the bad things happen in the fight that can be really frustrating. Let's say you dodge the first attack, and they do this weird shaky cam angle thing, and it can be very difficult to see the enemy. Your character might get in the way, the camera angle might have them sort of out of frame for a split second, and you've successfully dodged, and you think it's time to attack, but you can't see them, and they're winding up for a follow-up. So the wind up for follow-up attacks are really, really hard to read a lot of the time. You're like, I didn't even see that coming. And so you take what feels like automatic damage. You're like, well, I thought it was my turn to hit. I guess it wasn't my turn to hit. Also, sometimes when you're holding left or right, just standing there brain dead waiting for your turn, they will grab you. And you will not dodge the grab. You won't. I was holding left or right numerous times, and they grabbed me. It's not a punch, it's a grab. And when they grab you, you have to tap triangle really, really quickly. And when they grab you, they automatically get to take a chunk of your health. So all of those things are happening all throughout combat that even when it goes well, isn't that satisfying because of how it is inherently designed to be just sort of trading blows, just taking turns. I haven't even talked about jump scare automatic damage that they do. I literally crawled through a crawl space, and when I came out on the other end, I got grabbed. And they allow the enemy to hurt you by one hash, even if you tap triangle like a crazy person right away. Not even in combat, the long neck boys and the amoeba chest jump scares. Yeah, like you'll literally open a chest and something jumps out and grabs you as a jump scare, and it gets to take a slash of health from you. It's like, what? I thought this was survival horror. Why are you cheating the player and just taking pieces of their health because? I think you gave up too early on Callisto. No, I didn't. I gave it more time than it deserved. So in your mind, a remake has to be on par with current titles? No, I didn't say that. For me, remakes just have to feel significant from the original. No. Nope. I have said time and time again, a $70 next-gen only remake needs to give me a $70 next-gen experience, and I'm not seeing that in any of the gameplay. If this was $50, my assessment would be much different. Why are you trash-talking someone else's game on a Dead Space Remake display? This is smearing and shameless. Oh my gosh. Are you trying to be a Karen and a meme, or are you being serious? There are obvious comparisons to the Dead Space Remake and Callisto Protocol, and people ask me what I thought about Callisto. Like, I'm just engaging with what is a very, very conceivable sidebar when talking about the Dead Space Remake. Callisto Protocol will undoubtedly come up. It's not even tangentially related. They're related. They're basically like cousins. I heard that. I just got here, just making sure. Yeah, it's hard, Tenor dude, because like I'm trying to be nuanced every time and tell people that like there are elements of this that look really good. It's so much better than the original, but I was hoping to get to play a next-gen version of Dead Space, and I'm not seeing that. It all comes down to expectations, right? And this is where I think me and all of the Dead Space fans part ways, okay? This is where I feel like we part ways. Dead Space fans are ecstatic to have a very good-looking, updated version of Dead Space 1. They're just so pumped. And that's framing their expectations, right? My expectations were very different. My expectations were, bro, I never played the original Dead Space, and everybody always told me that I should. I'm going to get to play a next-gen version of Dead Space. So we're both looking at the exact same gameplay and coming to very different conclusions because of our starting positions. That is fundamentally where we're breaking and not seeing eye to eye. Callisto Protocol creator was the guy who made Dead Space 1, so of course Callisto even has Dead Space references. How far did you get into Callisto? Right under 3 hours, I think. I couldn't agree more, man. Well said. Right, like, so I'm not trying to disrespect people that are in the other category. Man, when you're in that other category, you're just pumped, and you're like, what's this guy's problem, man? This looks awesome. It's going to be so fun to play Dead Space on my PlayStation 5 or my Xbox Series X. Like, and you're like, what's this guy's problem? And it's just because we're approaching it from different viewpoints. Why does Callisto not have New Game Plus? Isn't New Game Plus coming with their first DLC? I don't think... I'll be honest with you. I think Callisto was a little rushed. Can't have a neutral opinion anymore. If you don't like someone's thing, then you're the enemy. That's right. Dead Space is supposed to play like this. Like I said, your frame of reference may be off, respectfully. No, my frame of reference is not off. The weight of the gunshots and the movement of the enemies, we compared it to the original. Even the weight of the gunshots looked better than the original. They did something funny with the weight of the guns. And being like, oh, it's supposed to play that way. Enemies are supposed to float along the ground? Like... He's floating around when he turns? He is rad, especially when it comes to Xbox. The people who think I'm an enemy of the Xbox, I feel like you're not an Xbox fan because you don't see how much of an ally I really am. You just don't see me as the ally that I am. I am on your team. I'm a massive ally for fans of Xbox. And the only reason they don't like me or they think I'm an enemy of Xbox is because I don't drink the frickin' copium and act like Xbox is winning right now. Because I'm unwilling to be dishonest about their standing in the current marketplace. I'm a hater. I want Xbox to be an absolute friggin' champion and have referred to them as a sleeping giant, and that, you know, their cloud-based edge could give them a very, very big leg up in about 10 years. But, you know, they're just not there right now. They got a long ways to go. He's wearing green, for crying out loud. I'm telling you, I think people just can't see it. It's like, man, I'm an ally. I want Xbox to be amazing. I am rooting for Starfield. I don't get that it's supposed to play like argument people. Criticize T-Lu because according to them it plays like the original, but praise Dead Space for the same thing. Right, Vigil? And again, all of the people that seemed to compare the original T-Lu to the remake said that it didn't play like the original. I trust Young, yeah. Honestly, you're a hater when you're honest and you tell people the things that they don't want to hear. Hence why they're trying to buy Activision. Why bother? I don't want to go down that road and debate that. Dead Space is supposed to play like this. Says who? We each have our own perspective. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Here's my question. I need to go... It's almost like I need to play a little bit of Dead Space 3, right? Because I feel like Dead Space 3 updated a lot of the movement and the weight and the shooting. Right? Sorry, I was trying to read a comment. Nah. No, Dead Space 1. Yeah, but that's my question then. Can you substantiate why you think they wouldn't update Dead Space 1 to feel like the newer versions of the game with respect to movement, fluidity, and combat weight? So what, you think like Dead Space fans would have revolted if it played smoother? There's no reason to update it to make things look and run better. It's a freaking remake. Dead Space 3 ruined the gameplay. Well, I'm not talking about the gameplay. I'm talking about the way it feels to move around. I know that Dead Space fans didn't like Dead Space 3. I'm talking about the movement, the combat fluidity. I'm not saying, oh, it needs to play like Dead Space 3. That's not what I'm saying. It's supposed to play like someone who isn't military trained and who isn't even using weapons, just mining equipment. Right. Like, I don't think it's wrong to have a sense of clumsy, or let's just say he's weak and unpolished, right? I'm fine with that, right? I think they did a good job of that in the first Tomb Raider remake, where she's like hurt and she's kind of struggling and her weapon's kind of weak. But that doesn't mean the animations and the movement need to be bad. Dead Space fans just have to keep it real. We can play the original now. It's still very good. They're charging us $70 for a fresh coat of paint. Dead Space 3 ruined the story by giving us a cliffhanging ending. Yeah, you have to look at me in context. Like, when I played Dead Space 3, I literally was just looking for a fun co-op game to play with my buddy. We were playing video games all day, every day. I wasn't a YouTuber. I was just looking for a co-op game to play. And then we just played it and had fun. I think the first and second Dead Space are classic survival horror games because you're not Marcus Phoenix or Nathan Drake. It's a reason why he moves the way that he does. It's a reason for the tank-like controls. Yeah, but having it control and rotate in some of those ways. Stomp was fun co-op. Yeah, Hilly and I played a little bit. That was fun. Those are fun times in general. Hilly and I playing through games was always a good time. Man, they're doing something really weird over on that platform. It's like every time I publish something, it saves it as a draft, even though it published it. Like, what the frick? They did that as a middle finger to EA, from my understanding. They made the ending a cliffhanger to make it hard for EA to try to keep the franchise going after closing the studio. Eugene says that's not why the controls were the way they were. That's like someone's headcanon. Did your two shorts get moving in the end? Which ones? What are you talking about, Hilly? My one today on this channel was a Callisto Protocol jump scare. It took off like a friggin' rocket. And our Lego channel shorts are crushing it. Miguel Ivars was the reason why it was a survival horror game. Resident Evil, you're a police officer or a SWAT soldier in the originals. You had 2 on 0 last week. Oh, those were on some of our other channels. Yeah, shorts are being really weird, Hilly. If we have a short that just gets like stuck with like, it'll be like 0 to 4 views. We just eventually delete it. I think it's a glitch in the matrix. James Wolfgang says, I mean, even Lono showed the gameplay from the OG Dead Space, and the gunshots had more weight, and the enemies were pushed back when hit. In the remake, they just walked through everything. Right, like, we watched this section here, and this again gets at some of the issue that you can say that, like, oh, he's supposed to be clumsy and he's using engineer tools. Look at the shots and how they actually cause a stun and a boom, and look at the way that the enemy reacts. There's just more weight, right? And then when you watch this, it's like it's just a really, really pretty version of kind of the same stuff, and the enemies seem to react a lot less to being shot, which just gives it a real neutered feel. It's like it just feels really light, floaty. Like there's no weight to anything. It's just odd. I mean, I don't know. It could be the Frostbite engine. We know when it came to Anthem, there were issues with Frostbite and animations and developing things. Showing it and playing it are 2 different things, but I can see the impact of the guns. I don't need to be holding the joysticks to see giant differences. This might be in story mode. Oh, man. Listen, help me out with something today, guys. Help me out with something today. We are at, I need to update the sub goal. We are at 7 out of 15 members for the day. If you've enjoyed going back and forth with me today and debating me, consider becoming a member. We're going to go to a segment in a little bit called Mean Comment Monday, and it's just for members. I got a lot of mean comments on my Dead Space short. We're going to be looking at some of them, as well as a God of War short. It's something that we just do for members. It'll be a short segment. It won't be super long. Now's a great time to gift members, people that have been hanging out all day and debating me and being respectful. Like, nobody has been unkind. We haven't had to ban anybody. So now is a great time to consider supporting the channel financially with a membership. Live streams do what we do because of the members, and we appreciate everybody who gifts and jumps in and supports in that way. It's very different than the rest of YouTube, and we appreciate folks who buy into that vision. We do multiple shows a day. We already did a show this morning about Diablo. This is actually our second show of the day. We didn't have a second show planned. This kind of came in and saved the day, to be honest. Not saved the day, but it came in and gave us something else to do, because I didn't have a second show planned. Example, Resident Evil Remake is just prettier. That's just not true. Them standing around also looks like it's story mode. Right, but if it was story mode, wouldn't they react a lot more to being shot? Wouldn't they die faster? Hey, Raijin coming in and gifting 5 members. That's very, very kind. Make sure you guys have allow gifts turned on. You'll be able to be a part of today's members only segment. Mean Comment Monday. It's Snake Plissken, Revive Farmer, Peter Dobson, Eric Gonzalez, and Tyler Short. You guys all got gifted members. You demand, Raijin, thank you. If you're looking for any reason beyond the standards at the time for the controls being the way that they were, you're reaching and have made up some sort of headcanon for it. Yeah, this idea that, like, here, let me update the member goal with 5 more. That takes us to 12. So we're 3 under. That's nice. That's very sweet. I think it controls the way it controls because it's an old game. This whole idea, like, oh, it's supposed to control that way. He's a geriatric engineer with arthritis. Like, okay, well, you know, I don't know that. Maybe it's on a different difficulty. Or later in the game, or more upgrades on the weapon. It is strange, though. Yeah, it's strange. Hang on, I'm getting a message. Buddha Papa says, it feels different from Dead Space Original. I can say... Oh, never mind. That was about something else. The controls are intentionally supposed to be like that. See, I think you're drilling down on something that I'm not saying. You're talking about the controls. I'm talking about the way everything moves and is animated. The player animations, the enemy animations, the movement, the floatiness. I'm not talking about the controls. I know it might sound like I was talking about the controls. I might have mentioned that it feels clunky, and so you've kind of gone down this rabbit hole of like controls, and it's like, yeah, but that's not really what I'm zeroing in on, because I'm not controlling the character. And there's only so much I can conclude from just, you know, watching. The controls change from Dead Space 1 to Dead Space 2, so I'd argue they aren't really supposed to be that way. They just are that way for the first game. It's literally part of the entire story. You're an underdog. Everything you use is mining equipment. You're using weapons that don't exist. Yeah, and I'm not having an issue with that. That's not it. I feel like we're reframing it to try to take away from what I'm saying. We're reframing it and being like, well, the controls and the way you're supposed to be weak and you don't really have weapons. I'm talking about, this doesn't look like a next-gen game. Nothing is moving or animating. There's just the lack of fluidity. I'm not talking about controls. Yo, my man renewed Bro Sexy. 5-month renewal. It's a nice milestone. I played the original. It was my first platinum. This does not look like a $70 remake, says Bro Sexy. Gonna do what I did for the T-Lu remake and grab it on sale. I didn't have to play Gotham Knights to know it was gonna feel like crap. Yeah. Hey guys, before we switch to the member segment, let's close this gap. Let's get 3 more. Either gifteds or just, hey, try it out. If you've never been a member, try it out. Click join. Sometimes it gives you a discount on your very first membership. And come hang out with us for members Mean Comment Monday. We'd love to see you there. I feel like we've had a really fun time hanging out with a lot of you today. Even though we debated and butted heads, like it was entertaining, I would imagine, because a lot of you stayed here, even though we were debating, right? You just got to, pass 2 hours of your day with me. It'd only be 2 more? No. Well, we don't count renewals. I added the 5 gifteds to take us to 12. We can't count renewals. I think we got 6 in the first stream and 6 in the second stream. That's 6. That's 12, isn't it? The plasma cutter is effectively a handheld shotgun, shooting out a hand-wide stretch of plasma that cuts most matter. Used for mining at close quarters, this handy tool has become the screwdriver, kitchen knife, murder tool of the current century. Just a mining tool. Some people are missing the point, says Infinite. I'm going to get this because this is one of my favorite games ever made, but $50 should have been the sweet spot for this. Yeah. All right, I'm going to schedule the mean comment thing. You guys have a little bit of time. Oh, that's a great thumbnail, Creature. I didn't see my picture until just now. Okay. Okay. Streaming software. Reuse. Mean comment Monday. Where is it? Oh, it's all the way down there. Okay. Wonder if there's an $80 deluxe edition. All right, Mean Comment Monday has been posted to the members. Let me set up redirect. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If you're not a member, it's only $5 a month and you don't have to miss out on all the extra segments that we do. We usually do members in the middle of the day for like my lunch break, but we wanted to jump right into this Dead Space gameplay. Thank you to Mo for putting this on our radar. We would have missed it if it wasn't for him. So appreciate that, Mo. I'm going to put a link in chat if you guys would prefer to click the link instead of writing redirect. Redirect can be a little funky. There we go. Okay. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. This is going to be the first ever Mean Comment Monday. We are trying to do segments with the members. This will probably be a shorter segment than we usually do. I didn't actually do this during the lunch break. This was done after we did two streams. We looked at the Dead Space gameplay. There's new Dead Space gameplay. So if you missed the live streams from today, you can go back and watch them. We looked at Diablo 4 new information and stuff. And now we're going to be talking about we're going to be doing Mean Comment Monday. I got some good ones. It's not going to be a ton. I figured we would kind of experiment with how this felt. I'm going to end the previous stream and bring everybody over. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out.